Hello friends, welcome to live tech study. I am Pranav. In this video I am going to talk about a string class in Java. Uh, there are in interview lots of questions are asked related to a string class. Uh, so I will discuss about the string class in detail. So there are few points related to a string class uh, which are generally asked in interview. So first one is immutable. That is a string class is actually immutable. So the questions would be something like why a string class is immutable and what is the advantage of a string being immutable. So first I will discuss about the immutability of the string. So immutable means something which cannot be changed. In terms of a string class, once we create the object of a string class, we cannot modify it. So like if we, let's say I have created a string s equal to s1 equal to test, and if I try to modify it, it will not modify the object s1. It will actually create a new object which will have the modified value. Okay, so once we create object of a string class, we cannot modify it. So let me show you an example. So I have a string s1 equal to test. Now if I try to modify it s1 to uppercase, and then if we try to print the value of s1, so if you see again the value is the same. That means the s1 object has not been modified. What actually happened is a new object was created which has the uppercase of the string test. So if we store the returned value in a different object s2, then s2 has actually the modified value. So if I run this, now I will have the uppercase. So whenever we try to modify a string, it actually creates a new object. So that's that's why we say that a string is immutable. So now we will discuss what is the advantage of a string being immutable. So actually there are two ways to create a string object. So first one that we have seen is called the string literal. So whenever we provide the value in quotes, we call it as a string literal. Let me show that. So this is called a string literal. The other way we can create an object is something like using the constructor s2 equal to new string test. So over here we have called the constructor of a class string. So in these two ways we can create the object of a string class. So now what's the difference between these two ways of creation? So to discuss that, we will actually have to discuss about a string pool. So actually Java behind the scene maintains a string pool. Whenever you create an object using this literal method, first of all Java will check whether there is already a string test present in the string pool. If there is a string already present, it will point it to that. In our current scenario, a string s1 equal to test, this string is not already present in the string pool. So what Java will do, it will create a string test and it will point it to this. Now again, if we try to create a string s3 equal to test, so again, because we are creating via literal method, Java will check whether this test string is already present in the string pool or not. It will find that it is already present, so it will point it to this. Okay, and let's say again we create s4 equal to something like abc. Then this will again check abc is not present, it will create abc in the string pool and then point it to this. So now if a string was not immutable, what can happen? If it is not immutable, then the value can be modified. So we have this string s1 and s3. Let's say we modified s1 dot to uppercase. If a string was not immutable, this value would have been modified to capital test. Now as this has been modified, the value of s3, which was also pointing to the same location, has also been modified, but we actually wanted to modify only s3. So that's the problem. That kind of problem could happen if a string is not immutable. That's why a string class has been made immutable in Java. Okay, so now we will see few examples of this in our code. So to show that, let me create another object as well, a string s2 equal to test again. Now let's say if I again I create s3 by calling the constructor. Okay, so I have called the constructor passing the same value test. Now let's say if I try to compare this s1 equal to s2, what would be the output? This will give us true, but if we try to compare s1 with s3, s1 equal to s3, it will give us false. Let me run this. Okay, so s1 equal to s2 is giving true, but s1 equal to s3 is giving false. Why? Because of the concept of a string pool, s1 and s2 both are pointing to same location in the string pool, but s3 is pointing to a object in the heap. So location of s3 is different from s1 and s2. That's why we are getting false for s1 equal to s3. Now there is before proceeding, I will talk about a method intern, which is present in a string class. So let me show that part. S4 equal to s3 dot intern. So what actually intern does, if we look at the documentation, returns a canonical representation of the string. A pool of a string initially empty is maintained. So what actually is it does is it, whatever value was stored in this s3, it now points to the string pool object. So like in the current scenario, s1 was first created, it pointed to a object in the string pool. Then we created s2, it also now pointing to test a string in the string pool to the same location as S1. When we call S3 dot intern, it will again point to the same string object in the string pool. So whenever we call intern on a string object, it will return the same pointer in the string pool. So to clarify that, if I call now sysout S1 equal to S4, it will actually give us true. Why? Because now S4 is also pointing to the same location in the string pool as S1 and S2 is pointing. Okay. Another method to compare the objects is equals. So if we call like any combination of these, S1 dot equals S2, or S1 dot equals S3 or S4, all of these will be true. Why? Because equals method actually compares the value of the string, that it doesn't compare the memory location. That's why all of those will give us true. So that's it. Thank you.